If a doctor has ever looked at you and said, there is nothing more we can do, you are just going to have to learn to live with it. I want you to hear me today. That is not a diagnosis, that is a surrender, and it is usually wrong. Today I'm going to show you why your body is not broken, it is blocked, and what you can do about it. Guys, welcome to episode number 2 of the Well Health Show. We're going to talk about the lie of learning to live with it and what you can do about it. Guys, if you've never met me, I'm Dr. Ben, founder of Well Health and Chiropractic. We've got 15 chiropractic locations between Tennessee and Florida, which, by the way, I don't own them all. I'm just the brand. We're a Christian, natural healthcare, wellness, chiropractic brand, and we love what we do. We believe that God gave you a fantastic body. We believe in Genesis in chapter 1 where it says you were made in the image of God, that your DNA is supernaturally awesome, and it is made to survive, thrive, feel good. Rarely should you ever need to take a medication if your body's running correctly. Now, if you're a patient, you've probably heard this a few times, but I'm just going to drill this in today's episode. We're going to talk about the core 5. You have to have these things right in order to be able to trust your body's symptoms. Now, some chiropractors, we don't talk about symptoms. We don't want to talk about symptoms. We don't talk about pain. Oftentimes in the medical system, that's all they want to talk about is symptoms and pain, whereas we're somewhere in the middle. But symptoms, pain are very valuable, very important. You need to talk about them. However, here's the deal, is that you have to understand that your body's got to work correctly in order for those symptoms to tell you anything that's useful. Let me say that in a better way. If your body's not working correctly, you can't trust that the warning sign is real. So let's just dive down the list here, and I think this is going to make a lot of sense to you. I'm going to show you some patients, and we see this a lot. People come in, have been lied to, you have to learn to live with it. This is going to be, your thyroid's all messed up. You've got an autoimmune disorder. You're just going to live with that for the rest of your life. Patients that are coming in, been on medications for 10 or 15 years, and we see some huge things in the core 5 that are messed up, and then when we change those things, we notice that their body changes. We see this a ton with arthritis. This is my favorite one. People come in all the time, they're like, oh, my body's all full of arthritis. It's because my dad's got arthritis. Arthritis has nothing to do with your age, has nothing to do with your genetics. And I'll show you here in a minute an x-ray. There's 7 vertebrae in your neck. I'm going to show you an x-ray where you see arthritis on 1 or 2 levels, but you don't see it on the other 3 or 4. Well, guess what? Those bones are the same age. So arthritis doesn't have to do with time because they're the same age. It has to do with an injury that we'll talk about. Again, it's all neatly tucked into the core 5. So the first thing we'll talk about is the nerve supply. Dr. Ben, why on earth would you talk about nerve supply? And what does that have to do with, my blood pressure? Well, here's the deal. I believe that your blood pressure is actually a symptom that your body is telling you that something's not quite right. And again, if you look at your body through the lens that God made you amazing, that you are like He's an architect and you're His masterpiece, then you would understand that God's going to give you some symptoms that's going to give you some warning sign before you just drop dead of a heart attack. I believe that blood pressure is one such symptom. And that's something that we really focus on here at Well Health is let's talk about the core 5. What does the nerve have to do with it? Well, I'll tell you, is the nerve that's going to your heart is going to be up here. Right, by the way, you got your brain that sits up here, and the nerve, let's see if I can see that better with red, maybe that'd be better. Yep, your brain sits up here. The nerve goes from your brain down your spinal cord out, see these top really lower vertebra in your neck, top part of your shoulders. Those are going to be the nerves that are going to be going to your heart. Of course, your heart's up in here in this. But your heart sits right about here. So that's where those nerves are going to go. If the nerves pinch go into your heart, well, what do you expect? You can't trust that your heart is going to work correctly if the nerve doesn't get there, because that's a huge deal. Your heart doesn't beat because of like a Wi-Fi signal or a Bluetooth signal. That heart is only beating for one reason. That's because your brain sent a signal from your brain down the spinal cord out the nerve to your heart, so it works. And some people say, well, Dr. B, I don't know that I believe that. Well, guess what? Doesn't matter. If I cut the nerve of their heart, what happens to you? You're dead and you're wrong, because that's how it works. It's not an opinion. It's not a belief. Chiropractic is a tool. And by the way, what does chiropractic do? Chiropractic just moves the bone to take the pressure off of the nerve. Now, we don't just flippantly do that. We look at x-rays and making sure that, we only move bones that are in the wrong position, so to speak. Okay? So nerve supply. But if the nerve's pinch going to your, if the nerve is pinch going to your thyroid, then how do you know that your autoimmune's off if your thyroid can't even get the right signal from your brain? Does that make sense? You have to have that. If we cut the nerve to your eyeball, you'd be blind. Okay? If we pinch the nerve to your eyeball, it's not going to work right. So if you're putting on glasses, but your nerve is pinched going to your eyeball, do you need those glasses? Maybe, maybe not, right? You see what I'm saying here? Because we have to make sure that your body is running correctly first. A lot of people will come in and they're chasing the wrong thing. If the nerve is being pinched going to your intestines, we'll talk about fertility. We've got Alexa's doing a segment on fertility later of this show. But if the nerves are being pinched going to your female organs, well, what do you expect? It's not going to work right, right? If the nerves being pinched going to your sympathetic, your fight or flight, not going to work right, okay? So the core 5, number 1, is we've got to have the nerve supply check. And that's something that only chiropractors do. I'm proud of it. I love it. That's what we do. And we're going to talk through that. Number 2 is sleep. You've got to get good sleep. There's some really great statistics around sleep. Did you know that if you don't sleep for 17 to 19 hours, that is like your blood alcohol being at 0.05. So you're almost drunk if you're awake for 17 to 19 hours for lack of sleep. So how can you trust your body? How can you guarantee that you've got an autoimmune disorder and your body is not working right if you're not sleeping? Now, some people say, well, I've got an autoimmune disorder because I don't sleep. I can't sleep because of my autoimmune disorder. Well, that might be true, and I totally get that. However, let's just back that up a step. What happens if, is it because you're not sleeping, or is it because you're not going to bed, you're not falling asleep until midnight because you're on your phone for 3 hours in your bed doing everything you can to stimulate your brain? You can't figure out why you fall asleep. Does that make sense? So if you have proper sleep, then we know that our body's going to work correctly. Some people say, I've got eczema on my arm. But you have to sleep, because guess where 80 to 90% of your healing, guess when that happens? When you sleep. So if you're not getting good sleep, then that could be reducing healing. Again, this is all, can you trust your body's working correctly? Okay, sleep. Number 3, hydration. You have to have water in your cells. That's what people come in. I've got headaches, Dr. Ben. Is that a chiropractic? Can you fix my chiropractic? Probably. Chiropractic is incredible with headaches. However, if you come in because you have a headache because you're dehydrated, you're chronically dehydrated or acutely dehydrated, then maybe not. Maybe you just need some water. We've got to be able to trust your body. Water is a huge piece. By the way, water is a huge piece of your metabolism. In order for your body to be able to break down your food, it's got to create all these enzymes. It has to create your the saliva and all the gastric juices. There's a lot there. By the way, if you're dehydrated, a lot of people don't realize that you actually have, your body produces like a liter of cerebral spinal fluid per day, a liter. And that cerebral spinal fluid is produced by your meninges, and that's going to wash out your brain. That's really important. It goes from your brain down your spinal cord and goes out your cauda equina so that it gets recycled in your body. Well, if you don't have enough water, your brain is literally in there like hitting the edge of your skull. Like, it's not good. Right? And again, that's not exactly how it works, but it kind of feels that way. You all get it? Okay. Movement. You don't exercise. You don't move your body. Like, I think I got autoimmune. Well, what happened last time you worked out? I don't work out. Well, what happens when you move your body the way God designed it to? I don't do any of that. Well, how do you know you can trust your body if you don't ever try to move it? Make sense? That's why it's in the core 5. Number 5, by the way, last but not least, but I put last on the thing, is nutrition. And this is really more basic nutrition. So people come in and they're like, the first thing they want to do is take like, all right, Dr. Ben, I need like a whole lot of supplements. Like, I need a lot of them. Like, I really need supplements. I think supplements can fix it. I used to do ashwagandha to slow me down, get me to sleep. It doesn't work. I do magnesium glycinate, used to slow me down. Now it doesn't work. Now I'm going to do CBD. Now that doesn't work. Like, we want all these supplements, and we want to get to advanced nutrition. We want to cut out all gluten in our life, when honestly, I don't think most people are gluten intolerant. Like, I don't think gluten is particularly amazing for you, but I don't think gluten's particularly bad for you. Too much gluten is the problem. Okay, if you put gluten in check, you probably would be just fine, and you can get in your gut, can heal. Basic nutrition. By the way, if you need help in here, go on. You can go on Well Health Academy, but we've got a thing called Food University. And if you go to wellhealthacademy.com, which I'll show you that later, wellhealthacademy.com, we've got a 45-minute nutrition teaching. And it's, again, I call this basic nutrition. I think it's basic nutrition because it's getting a whole foods in your body. It's what do you eat for breakfast? What do you eat for lunch? What do you eat for dinner? But really, what's the basics? Like, if you're struggling with nutrition, why don't you just start with breakfast because it's easy? Some people say, well, I start with breakfast, I do a cup of coffee, and that's it. Don't eat anything else. Well, that's worse. Don't do that, okay? So we're going to talk about how do you feel your body that you can trust your body, the core 5. So let's dive in a little bit deeper here. Let's talk about some case studies. So number 1, let's talk about, we're talking about the nerve supply. Again, this is the biggest one people really get confused on, and why we talk about this a lot at Well Health is because it makes a huge difference. So let's talk about your fight or flight or rest and digest. This is my favorite thing, your sympathetics and your parasympathetics, because this is the number 1 problem that people with autoimmune disorder are dealing with is your parasympathetic and your sympathetic imbalance. So in order for your sympathetic and your parasympathetics to work, we need to see where they're at. So first and foremost, your parasympathetic sits right up here. This is going to be your vagus nerve, V-A-G-U-S. That's your rest and digest. Your body has to go rest and digest, okay? You've also got what's called your sympathetic ganglion. That's going to be right here, T1 through 4, and that's going to be your fight or flight. Now, you need both of these, okay? Now, let me show you why. Because fight or flight means you're being chased by a bear. If you're being chased by a bear and your body decides it's going to take a nap, what do you think? Toast. You are going to be eaten. You're going to be a bear snack. It's not going to be good. Conversely, if you are rest and digest, like if your body is stuck in fight or flight, we're always running away from a bear, and it's time for you to sleep, which is rest and digest time, and you're in fight or flight time, your body going to cut down to sleep? Nope. And as a matter of fact, this is the number 1 thing, and Alexa can talk about this later with infertility. This is what we see. If these things can't snap back and forth, if you can't get into rest and digest, how is your body going to be prepared to have a baby? And the answer is, it's not. That's how God made you. God made you so that if you were a nomadic tribe and you were in war, that the women can't get pregnant, or they get pregnant very difficultly. Anyways, they don't get pregnant very easy. You know why? Because that would be bad. If you're in the middle of war and you're just about to pick up with camp and suddenly you're pregnant, like that's bad. Or even worse, let's say you just delivered, you got a 1-day-old baby and now you got a guy wielding a sword. Like that would be bad. So God gave your body these fail-safes so that if you're stuck in fight or flight, you can't get pregnant, right? If you're stuck in fight or flight, the problem is that it really messes up your body. And now in 2026, being stuck in fight or flight is just, that's how it works. And you want me to tell you why? Number 1 reason we're stuck in fight or flight is right here. Okay? So that's what we'll talk about, how do you get you unstuck from fight or flight. And well, the easiest thing will be to get rid of this, but that's not going to happen. So what we have to do is we have to adjust here, and then our body snaps back from fight or flight, fight or flight into rest and digest. So let's talk about that. Again, parasympathetic is up here. That's with a P. Parasympathetic, rest and digest. Down here is sympathetic with an S, right? And that's going to be fight or flight. Okay, got that? So let's take a look at what is required when we look at an x-ray. This is why we look at x-rays to determine how your body is snapping back and forth in your sympathetic and your parasympathetic. What you're looking for and what you want to have, again facing forward, is you want to have this nice good curve in the back part of your neck. There's actually ligaments that hold this solid. This is really great. You need this nice good curve. You need this top bone tipping back, and when your top bone tips back, that allows your vagus nerve, remember V-A-G-U-S, your vagus nerve to work correctly. That's going to be your rest and digest. And when you have this nice good curve, that's going to take the pressure off the next part of the spine, which is right here. That's your sympathetic ganglion. That's your sympathetic, remember, like it with an S. And that's going to be your fight or flight. And when it looks like this, your body can go fight or flight when it needs it, rest and digest when it's time to sleep. Fight or flight when we need it, rest and digest when it's time to sleep. Fantastic. Here's what we see a lot of. This is going to be post-whiplash. Almost every human's had whiplash. By the way, people say, don't you as a chiropractor think everybody's got whiplash? Yes, yes I do. And if you don't believe me, I've got an 8, 10, and 11-year-old. I can show you like 500 videos of my kids wiping out between the ages of 2 to now. Like they wipe out on everything. Wipe out on bikes. They wipe out on roller skates. When they were 2 or 3, my 11-month-old baby crawled over and fell down the stairs. Like it happens. Even Dr. Ben's baby. Good news is his dad's chiropractor. I put him back together, but like it happens. So this is what we see a lot of. Okay, you can see somebody comes in, we shoot an x-ray, we see that ligament right there, just like that. We're going to tear that ligament. Well, guess what? Those nerves right there are the nerves that are going to go to your thyroid. So we see that a lot with autoimmune disorders. The second thing we're going to see is this top bone. It's super flat. What do you see there? That's going to be a parasympathetic. Yikes, that's not good. And when your spine's super flat at the bottom, that's going to have a lot of pressure on your T-spine, which is going to be that's your thoracic spine, which is going to be your sympathetic chain deangling. So this person is not going to be able to snap back and forth into fight or flight, rest and digest. Okay? Let's take a look at what that looks like. Now, I'm going to show you something that's really cool. Most people don't show you. Look at this one. This is a normal one. Fairly normal, right? You see a nice good curve, top bone's tipped back. So what do we see? Parasympathetic looking good, sympathetic looking good. You know why I'm super proud of this one? Guess whose x-ray that is? My x-ray. So me, I'm 44 years old at the filming of this. This morning, I went to the gym. I ran a 5K yesterday. Like, I am not some sort of a super athlete stud. I literally do the core 5 that we talk about. This morning I had my smoothie for breakfast. I got up first, worked out, had my Bible time, did my smoothie for breakfast. Like, I drink a ton of water. Right now I've got a big old water cup sitting right here. Like, this is what we do. This is my life. And there's nothing special fancy about me. I'm made in the same image of the same God that you are. I just really work on the core 5. Sometimes I get like into the advanced section, which is pretty cool. I'll show you about it. I'm actually wearing a stem cell patch. That's pretty cool. But you don't need to worry about that stuff right away. You got to get the core 5 figured out first, okay? And when you're like this, here's the best part. Guess how many medications I'm on? 0. There's nothing special about me, but I'm on 0 medications. I don't need any medications. Actually, I don't go do normal well checkups, but I do get I don't go to the medical doctor, in case you're a big surprise there. The last time I went to the medical doctor, I was 17, other than shoulder surgery and knee surgery, because apparently I'm terrible at board sports, if you don't know that. But when I do my life insurance checks, guess what? They send my blood away, and it's great. It's nothing special about me, but I can trust my body. And if and when I get a headache, I kind of assume that I'm dehydrated, and then I also kind of assume that I probably spent a little too much time doing this. You know what I'm saying? So guess what I do? I drink my water, and then I go get adjusted. That headache's gone. I'm grateful for that headache, because that headache reminds me every now and again. Again, I get adjusted once a week and I will for the rest of my life, but every now and again, I'm human. I'll go 2 weeks. Like, I legitimately forget. Like, I just forget. And maybe sometimes God gives me a headache to remind me to not be a dummy, because I don't want to be full of arthritis. Because let me show you what this does look like if you forget. Okay? This is a patient that came into our office. Super sweetheart. She's in our Springfield clinic, and she is about 50 years old. She's on 2 thyroid medications. Autoimmune disorder, you're going to be stuck with this for the rest of your life. She heard me on the radio. She said, well, hey, listen, let's try. I don't know if you know this, but I'm on the radio. And she said, let's go try this chiropractic thing. Well, let's take a look at her x-rays. What do you think? Well, it's pretty clear that she's had a whiplash right here. Can you see that? And this right here, of course, the brain sits right here. Top bone is very flat. Look how flat that top bone is. So what do we see there? What do we think, folks? Parasympathetic? Right? We don't like that. Down here, she's super flat. What do you think about the sympathetic? Don't like that. These nerves right here, you can see that nerve goes from the brain down the spinal cord, going right out to your thyroid. What would you expect to see here? You're going to expect her thyroid's not going to work. Now, here's the funny part. If you're watching this right now and you're thinking to yourself, I would like to hear the rest of this story. This is hilarious. I cannot even say this on YouTube. I'm not even going to be able to say that on YouTube. But let's just say, if I finish this story to you right now that is 100% true, I will no longer have a channel, because I'm not allowed to say that in natural healthcare. We're just going to leave it right there. If you want to talk to me later about that, that's great. But let me just say that 60 days later, this person looks like this. This is a true story. What do you see? Curve's getting a lot better. Top bone's tipping back. That means that there's going to be a much better parasympathetic, sympathetic balance. You can also see that nerve right there is going to be going a lot better to the thyroid. It's a true story. That's how that is. I am not allowed to tell you on this, particularly what you're watching, unless you go to wellhealthacademy.com. So what I have actually done is we're starting, so we've got 2 things that we've started. We've started the Well Health Show, which is this, and then we've also started wellhealthacademy.com. Now, Well Health Academy, there is no holding back. If you want to know how I really feel about things, if you want to know how me personally have avoided going to the doctor since I was 17, I will explain all of it in Well Health Academy. If you want to know what I take for everything that might pop up, I will tell you all of that in Well Health Academy. I am literally not allowed to tell you that when you have this symptom, this is what you take and this is the result that we see. I can't say that on channels like YouTube and Facebook. On Well Health Academy, I can. So what you got to do is go to wellhealthacademy.com, plug in your email address, and what that's going to do is that's going to give you the back-end access. It's free. Jump in, and we will load you full of anything you want to know. So inside of this, Alexa's got, I think we're going to talk about her Ask Alexa this week is on infertility. You'll see us here in just a second. But you're also going to see that she teaches a lot of the stuff that we do for our kids in there and for herself in there. And we're just going to tell you what it is that we do. And again, we get banned. We're not allowed to say this on other social channels, but wellhealthacademy.com, I'm just going to let her fly, and you can have it.
Okay, so let's talk about fertility. This is a hot topic in today's generation, and we have a lot of people and a lot of patients that are struggling in this area. So we just wanted to share today a few tips that we've learned along the way to helping your body just operate at its optimal level and just give you all the support that you need. Ultimately, this decision is in God's hands, and He breathes life and He knits our babies together in their mother's womb. But we need to do our part to just prepare this amazing body to do what it was intended to do. I know for us, it took just kind of a little while, and I was a gymnast and all the things. So you're like, what is going on? Have I just totally wrecked my body? And one of the first things that I needed to do was to restore my gut health. I needed to just help to have a hormone reset, a rebalance. So we just want to share with you a little bit this morning about what that looks like.
Okay, yeah, and if you're somebody that's really struggling with fertility, we hear this a lot, particularly Christian couples that maybe waited a little bit longer to get married, and they're super excited to start their family, and they finally waited, and then now they're having a hard time. Like, listen, God sees you, and what we want to do is preach a message, number one, of hope, that God sees you, and number one, God is the one who opens that womb and closes the womb. That's Him, not us, not you. However, there are physiological rules that our bodies play by. And it's interesting, the pharmaceutical industry likes to medicate your body, which is interesting because those medications are inherently poisons. However, some of the tactics that they're using aren't wrong, but you can just do it naturally and better. So the number one thing that if you are struggling with fertility, number one is you've got to get your blood sugar under control. The way that our bodies are designed, we've got our fight or flight. When you are in fight or flight, your body cannot get pregnant. That's the way that God designed it. So for example, if you were like let's say you were in a nomadic tribe and you were in war, God made your body so that it can't get pregnant. Because why? Because if you are in war and you are pregnant, then number one is you have a better chance of dying, and number two is you've got a better chance of, if you deliver this newborn, congratulations, you got a newborn baby, and we have like invaders attacking our camp. So God has made us so that our bodies cannot get pregnant during fight or flight. Well, that's the number one thing that we fight. If you're somebody with thyroid issues, autoimmune disorders, like that is the world that we live in. We need to be in what's called rest and digest. So how do we get our bodies in rest and digest? The number one thing that you can do at home right now is control your blood sugar, because your blood sugar is what actually activates your fight or flight or rest and digest the most. And let me say that. It's the thing that you can control the most. So how do you control your blood sugar? Well, it's really important to understand what is sugar. So like oatmeal, sugar. Milk, dairy, sugar. We need to be putting really good fats and good proteins as the primary source in our diet. It's interesting, in the United States, we have carbohydrate heavy diets, whereas when you go to Japan, you see they have actually smaller portions of well-seasoned meats, and they do a lot of like steamed vegetables. And in the United States, we just don't do that. What's a meal without mac and cheese or rice or pasta? It's just potatoes. Thank you. Yeah, that's just what we do in the United States. The problem is that goes against controlling your blood sugar. So the step one to getting pregnant that you can do at home is controlling your blood sugar. Now, if this is interesting, there's a whole lot more steps that you can do, and that's what we do in our office. Of course, chiropractic is a huge piece of it, but the number one thing that you can do at home is control your blood sugar.
Yes, and I can't wait to hear more about the chiropractic because it really is interesting. If you can imagine, your nerves that go to your ovaries and go to your uterus are coming from your spine. So if that is pinched, then it can't get what it needs. So an amazing chiropractic adjustment, which all of our doctors can help with, definitely helps just open everything up and get things flowing the way they need to. I just want to share a little bit from just a emotional standpoint. He shared about stress and all of that. And as women, we like to try to do it all. And God has a unique way of preparing us for motherhood and for children before the time has come. So he might ask you to make room in your life and make room in your schedule for this baby before that baby is there. So making sure you're not working 12-hour days and not giving yourself any time to rest and relax and just be in your home and just dwell in the presence of God and spending time reading and exercising and feeding yourself these nourishing foods, because he knows that when that baby comes, it's going to take all of your time. And so he's preparing you now for when the baby comes. And it's like you're making room you're making the house ready, you're making your house ready. And to do this, we have to slow down and we have to realize that our time is not our own, and the decisions that we're making are ultimately for our family. It's the biggest sacrifice you'll ever make, but it is the most worthwhile sacrifice.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting point too. And it's, in our culture in the United States, a lot of times, like, the only way that people prep for pregnancy is to take like a prenatal vitamin. Like, I'm ready, got my prenatal vitamin. Well, that's not how we're made physiologically. We're made that preparing your life for a child is what makes your hormones be prepared to get pregnant. So, and I know that sounds crazy for some of y'all. And listen, most people say this. When I was trying to get pregnant, I couldn't get pregnant. And then I stopped trying, and then what? And we get pregnant. Why is that? Because when you stop trying, the stress comes down. Well, there's more than just emotional stress. There's physiological stress. There's physically working too hard. You're just not prepared. Your life is not prepared for this new baby. God has made your body to not get pregnant if you are not prepared for that baby. So again, it's not just nutrition, exercise. It's not just like I'm trying to be not stressed. No, it's preparing that room in your life, because your body, if God wants to bless you with a child that's going to consume all of your brain cells, you got to have a few spare.
That's right.
And that's just how you're made.
That's right. And okay, let's just talk practical for just a second. We've talked about preparing your body, preparing your heart, preparing your home. And so I just want to talk about getting those chemicals out of your home, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to get rid of the plastics, get rid of the toxins in your hand washes and in your laundry detergents and in your clothes, and those cutting boards that are plastic, those fake nails you wear in. I know they're gorgeous, but that is leaking all that toxin into your body, and we've got to get it out if we're ready to prepare our bodies for a baby. Another practical thing that guys can do, this is just really crazy, but don't put your phone in your pocket. Don't put your laptop on in this area at all. You want to just make sure that there's none of those waves that are affecting everything. You want the strongest, most viable opportunity for a baby to be born.
Yeah, that's it. Well, anyways, hey, listen, stay in tune. We got lots of, really health tips we've been doing this for 20 years professionally, and we are blessed with 3 beautiful kids that are 8, 10, and 11. We've done a lot of stuff wrong. We've done a lot of stuff right. We have the filming of this in my backyard. There's a chicken at the window right here. We'll show you that later. We have lived in really toxic environments that were really fun and perfect, but toxic. And then we went to natural environments and everything in between. We prepared our home so it's a very natural, healthy home, because we don't like to get sick. And I say sick. We don't mind getting a cold or flu, because that's your body exercising itself. We can't control everything. However, inside of our home, we have the ability to create an environment that's going to give your body the best chance to be healthy and well. So anyways, thanks so much for following along here with this week's episode.
Yes.
Thanks, Lex.
I know. I do have one more thing I can share. I'm sorry. I'm not quite done. But we want to make sure that our bodies are alkaline. Okay, so if we have an acidic environment in our bodies, then we cannot get pregnant. So from ovulation to your period, that's the luteal phase, right? I'm pretty sure. You want to make sure that your body is as alkaline as possible. So lemon juice, making sure we're doing leafy greens, we're decreasing that sugar he's talking about. So we want to just create that vital environment. Also, you want to give yourself a little break in trying, and then you're most fertile the 5 days right before ovulation leading up to ovulation. And so you want to give your body the optimal chance. So try to wait and then have your fun. But that is your most likely chance to get pregnant. And ladies, I'm going to go there, y'all. We're going to be real and raw. You're in my home and you're in my heart. So I just want to share with you, don't get up right away, okay? Just chill. If things have happened, just be still and lay there, okay? This is like your last tip from Alexa. And I just want to share, you can do this. I'm praying for you. I'm cheering you on. And please reach out to us. We want to be there for you guys. This is not just a show. This is not just our job, but this is a community that we're building. All right.
See y'all. Have a great day. God bless.
Anyways, guys, well, thank you so much for following along. I appreciate you. Make sure to like, subscribe, share this episode to somebody that you love or somebody that you don't love. It's okay. As Christians, we're called to help our neighbors regardless. And I'm so glad to have you along. And this is episode 2. Be ready. We're going to be putting out an episode every single week, guys. I am Dr. Ben. Thank you so much for following along to the Well Health Show. Catch you next time.